Imagine living in a small American town where the grocery store closes. Then the pharmacy disappears. Then the local hardware store shuts down, one by one, until the places that once made the town feel like a town are simply gone. And then something strange happens. A new store opens. It's small, it's cheap, and it sells almost everything except the one thing the town may need most. A full selection of fresh groceries. A dollar store. For most Americans, a dollar store is just a convenient place to grab snacks, batteries, or cleaning supplies. But in thousands of small communities across the country, the story is much bigger. In some towns, the dollar store isn't one option among many. It's the store that survived after almost everyone else left. So how did a business built around tiny stores and low-priced products become such a powerful force in rural America? And why did it succeed in places where traditional grocery stores couldn't? The answer has surprisingly little to do with the dollar. It has to do with a massive change in the way small-town America works. And once you understand that change, the dollar store on the edge of town starts to look very different. For decades, American retail ran on one simple idea: more customers, more sales, bigger stores. Spread the cost across thousands of shoppers and everybody wins. That model worked beautifully in growing suburbs. It worked in big cities. Rural America had a different problem. There simply weren't enough people. Picture a town of 2,000 residents. A supermarket still needs refrigeration running around the clock. It still needs employees. It still needs trucks delivering fresh food every single day, whether 10 customers show up or 1,000. Now the town loses 500 people. That store doesn't just lose 500 customers. It loses a piece of the foundation that kept the lights on. So the big grocery chains stopped asking one question and started asking another. Not could this town use a store? Of course it could. The real question became, can a store make money here? And in town after town, the honest answer was no. Grocery stores live and die on volume. Milk, meat, produce, all of it needs refrigeration, constant, restocking, careful timing. Unlike a can of soup, fresh food can spoil before it's ever sold. That means a supermarket needs a steady stream of daily customers, not occasional. Daily. A factory closes, young families leave, 5,000 people slowly becomes 3,500. The store's costs barely move. Its customers keep disappearing. Eventually, a company has to choose. Keep losing money to serve a community that's shrinking, or close the doors and invest somewhere more profitable. From a spreadsheet, that's a rational decision. For the town left behind, it's devastating. Because people don't stop needing groceries. They just have to drive farther to get them. And in a country this size, distance is never just an inconvenience. In a city, 10 minutes to another store barely registers. In rural America, a 30-minute drive each way becomes a weekly burden, especially if you don't have a reliable car, if you work long hours, or if you're elderly and don't drive at all. This is what researchers started calling a food desert. Not a place with no stores. A place with houses, gas stations, restaurants, everything, except easy access to affordable, nutritious food. That gap sat there, empty, for years. And dollar stores were one of the only companies willing to walk into it. The genius of the dollar store model was never just selling things cheaply. It was something smarter than that. Figuring out how to make a tiny store profitable, with far fewer customers than a supermarket would ever need. A typical dollar store doesn't need the space of a supermarket. It doesn't need hundreds of employees or dozens of aisles filled with perishable produce. It can run with a much smaller footprint, a smaller staff, and a much simpler inventory: canned goods, packaged snacks, cleaning supplies, paper products, and personal care items. Most of these products don't spoil. They don't need heavy refrigeration. They can sit on a shelf for months. That single difference changes the economics completely. A supermarket needs a large population to survive. A small dollar store can survive on a fraction of that. A town too small to interest a major supermarket chain can still look attractive to a dollar store. So the real question isn't, why are dollar stores taking over rural America? It's, why are dollar stores nearly the only retailer still willing to go there? In many cases, the dollar store didn't create the empty space. In small-town America, it simply found the empty space after everyone else had already left, and then figured out how to make it profitable. There's also a real human reason this worked. If your budget is tight, saving $1 here and a few dollars there matters over an entire shopping trip, and driving 30 minutes to save money at a bigger store isn't always actually saving money once you count the gas, the time, and the wear on your car. A store 5 minutes away can be worth more than a cheaper store 30 minutes away. That's the hidden value of proximity, and it's a big part of why dollar stores became part of people's weekly routines almost without anyone noticing. At first, a new dollar store never looked like a problem. It looked like good news. A new business, a handful of local jobs, another place to shop after years of watching storefronts go dark. But the first dollar store in a town was rarely the last one. Another location opened, then another. Soon, the question wasn't whether a town had a dollar store. It was how many. Some towns ended up with 2, 3, sometimes more, all within a few miles of each other. And this is where researchers and small business owners started raising a real concern. Dollar stores can run on thinner margins than almost anyone else. That means they can sell everyday household items, detergent, snacks, paper goods, at prices a small, independently owned grocery store simply cannot match. Now picture that grocery store, family-owned, 20 years in the same building. The owner knows your name, knows what you buy every week. That store still has real costs: refrigeration, employees, food that spoils if it doesn't sell fast enough. A dollar store opens 2 blocks away. It doesn't need to take all of that store's customers. It just needs to take enough. Even a small shift in buying habits, 10%, 15%, can be the difference between a locally owned store staying open and quietly closing for good. To be fair, this is a genuinely debated topic among economists. Population decline, changing habits, and decades of economic pressure were already reshaping small-town retail, long before dollar stores expanded this fast. Nobody can point to one single cause. But the concern itself, that rapid dollar store growth, makes survival harder for the stores already there, has been raised often enough by residents, researchers, and local officials that it's become impossible to ignore. Walk into a dollar store and look around. You'll see chips, cookies, soda, canned food, paper towels, detergent, and toothpaste. At a glance, it can look like a miniature supermarket. But notice what's usually missing. A wide selection of fresh produce, a real meat department, dairy and frozen options beyond the basics. That's not an accident. It's the model. Fresh food is expensive to handle. It requires refrigeration, constant delivery, and careful timing. And if it doesn't sell fast enough, it becomes waste. A can of soup can sit on a shelf for months. A head of lettuce cannot. This is exactly why the term food desert applies so often to these communities. It's not that the town has no stores at all. It's that the stores it does have often aren't built around fresh food. And for a lot of residents, there simply isn't another practical option nearby. Some dollar store chains have responded to this criticism by testing produce sections and expanding frozen and refrigerated offerings in certain markets. Whether that becomes the norm across the industry is still something analysts are watching closely. Because when a single type of store becomes someone's primary source of food, not an occasional stop, but the main option, its selection stops being a minor detail. It becomes one of the most important things shaping that community's health. Some local governments have pushed back. A number of towns and counties have passed zoning rules, limiting how many dollar stores can open, or requiring new locations to include a certain amount of fresh food. The reasoning is straightforward. Officials don't want every new retail investment in an already struggling town to go toward another small discount store, when what the community may actually need is fresh produce, dairy, and a wider range of groceries. But there's a difficult truth underneath all of this. Blocking new dollar stores doesn't automatically bring a supermarket back. A town can stop another location from opening, but that alone doesn't make a large grocery chain want to invest millions of dollars in a community that's still losing population. The underlying economics haven't changed. The dollar store isn't the root cause of rural decline. It's one of the most visible symptoms of it. Step back far enough, and this becomes a story about much more than one type of retailer. It's about population loss, shrinking local tax bases, and a retail industry that increasingly rewards scale and efficiency over community presence. Dollar store chains didn't invent these trends. They found an unusually efficient way to operate inside conditions that already existed, using national data on population, income, and competition to identify exactly where a small store could succeed. That scale cuts both ways. It's the same scale that can make a company feel distant from the community it serves. But it's also the only reason that company can afford to be there at all. A small, independently owned store might understand a town perfectly, but not have the resources to survive a shrinking population. A national chain may not know the town personally, but it has the infrastructure to keep the lights on regardless. And once thousands of communities begin depending on the same kind of retailer, something subtle happens to the landscape itself. Drive through different states, different towns, completely different parts of the country, and you'll start to notice the same signs, the same stores, the same shopping patterns repeating themselves. The retail experience becomes standardized, even as the local businesses that once reflected each individual town continue to disappear. At the end of the day, this was never really a story about dollar stores. It's a story about what happens to a community when the bigger economic forces pull away, and about which businesses are willing and financially able to step into that empty space Once a store becomes this deeply woven into daily life, losing it can be just as disruptive as gaining it once was. In a city, a closed store means walking a few extra blocks. In a rural town, it can mean the nearest option is 20 miles down the road. So the real question isn't whether dollar stores are good or bad for rural America, it's what happens next. Will more of these stores start offering fresh food? Will communities keep pushing back? Or will the next generation of retail make that small store on the edge of town even more important than it already is? Whichever way it goes, one thing is already true. For millions of Americans living outside major cities, that small, brightly lit store isn't just a place to shop anymore. It's become part of the infrastructure of everyday life. Enjoyed the journey? Subscribe for more stories about America's history, culture, business, and the hidden reasons that shaped the nation. Every place has a story,